everybody. Welcome to the Lens Studio Twitch stream for the month of March. It's just me today. Amir's out of town, but I'm going to be walking you through a new template called the Paperhead template. It's one we're working on, so we're still kind of working through some of the kinks. It'll be on the website hopefully in the next week or two. So I'll be walking you through this new template, showing you how to use it. Again, it'll be coming out in the next couple weeks on the Lens Studio website. It's a really cool template. Basically, what it allows you to do is attach 2D images to your face, which is not anything new, but you can attach 2D images to your face, 2D animations, but these images can be driven by your facial expressions. So as you open your eyes, the animations will play an eye open animation, or as you open your mouth, a mouth open animation might play. So we'll walk through that. First, though, I want to kind of show you also a new update to the Lens Studio website that we actually just made. I think it just went live within the last half hour, maybe. So this is hot off the presses. We've really wanted to invest in our forum community and really kind of make the forum it's already a special place. Really want to make it even that much more special. So if you go to lensstudio.snapchat.com and then or lensstudio.com and then go to the forum, which is under reference and forum, you'll be taken to the new community forum for Lens Studio. And so we've really done a lot of improvements here, we think, to the forum to kind of make it a little easier to grasp, a little easier to find information. The search has been improved quite a bit. So the categories that were on the forum still exist. So general scripting, share your creations, and feature requests. Those were kind of existing categories that were on the forum that are still there. We've also added two new categories, getting started and get involved. For the four old categories, general's kind of for kind of general discussion about Lens Studio. Often this is a place where most of the kind of normal general questions are asked. Scripting is definitely for kind of the more technical questions for people that are looking for JavaScript advice or how to do something in script. Share your creations. This is something that has really been awesome to watch. This is where people are actually posting their creations. They're posting the different lenses that they're making. And just if we can, hopefully we can get the forum on the screen here, so you guys can kind of see some of the stuff that we're doing. Share your creations is where you can actually share your various lenses. Feature requests, we're always checking this out. Basically, people asking for different feature requests for Lens Studio that you can the team will look at and hopefully incorporate into future versions of Lens Studio. For the new two sections, getting started and get involved. Getting started, the thinking here is really just like a place to go for people really new to Lens Studio. Hopefully post about kind of, this is your first lens that you're making. What does that look like? Maybe some tutorials hopefully will show up there. And then also the Get Involved section, really interesting to see where you guys take this section. I think our hope for this is, while Share Your Creations is a very specific place to maybe share very specific lenses, we're thinking the Get Involved section is somewhere where you can share, meetups or a gallery opening where you have an amazing augmented reality marker experience that you're debuting, event type things for the community where maybe creators can get together and collaborate. So that's our hope for the Get Involved section, potentially a place where you can meet each other and collaborate as creators. So let me just dive into the general section real quick. I wanted to call out this awesome post by Ben. I don't know if he's joined us. So there is on general under Lens Studio tutorials. There's this featured post which you'll see at the top of the forum. What's really cool is Ben has actually gone through and made Lens Studio tutorials that he's posted to his YouTube channel for so many varieties of things. This is just such an amazing thing to see. Yeah, CINK Live says Ben's tutorials are amazing. Completely agree. And it's just so cool to see not just Ben but all of you kind of posting on the forum, helping others. Sharing your techniques for how to do things in Lens Studio. It's just been amazing to see. Ben's just an example of that, and we're hoping we just see more and more of that with the Sync Live. Sorry, not CINK. Yeah, we're hoping to see more and more of that on the Lens Studio forum, especially for this new revamp. Another thing I wanted to mention that's pretty cool. Is so like if I go to the forum and go underneath scripting, you'll actually see that it links out to a number of guides in the Lens Studio documentation. So our hope is to kind of have a little more connection with the guides and the forum itself, and kind of have those be a little more interchangeable. So yeah, before we dive into the template, again, just wanted to kind of walk through those changes that we are making or have made to the Lens Studio forum. So hopefully you all really enjoy the updates, and we'd really love to hear your feedback on the forum as well. Great place to do that is to use the forum. Okay, so now we'll move over to Lens Studio. So I have Lens Studio up right now, and we're going to open what's called the Paperhead template. So again, this template is something that we'll be launching hopefully in the next week or so as we kind of polish it up, and you'll be able to access it on the Lens Studio website. So definitely keep an eye out for it there. We'll also post on our Twitter and everything when it's ready. So what the Paperhead template does, and you kind of see it starting to work here, is it basically allows you to attach 2D images to your face that respond to various facial movement. So let's focus on the mouth, for example. So I'm actually going to go into the Paperhead controller. To do that, I'm just going to select it in the Objects panel, and then tune it in the Inspector panel. And then I'm just going to disable nose and the eyes. And so you'll see that there's checkboxes above each category. So here I have mouth only enabled. And what you'll see is there's basically a 2D animation that's responding to me opening and closing my mouth. So I open, I close, open, close. So the mouth actually is unique in that it has a few different types of modes of the type of mouth that you might want to add. So here, I'm actually using a sequence of textures. So it's really easy to, for example, just import almost like an animation, but only with a couple of frames as a sequence of textures, and it'll just basically iterate through that sequence of textures tied to the mouth movement. So for example, I think the first one is closed and the last one is fully open. So I can actually just delete the textures within, so the 2, 3, 4, and now I'm just moving between closed and open, closed and open. So you can actually get a great effect just with 2 textures, one of a mouth closed, one of a mouth open. You also have settings for each of the, it is hilarious watching me explain with this on my face. Get used to it. There's going to be a lot of that this Twitch stream. Underneath the textures, you have a number of sliders. So here I can very easily tune how big my mouth is, for example. I make a really tiny mouth. I can offset it on my face. For the mouth, I probably am not going to offset it in the X, but I can offset it, for example, how high it is on my face, we'll probably just zero that out. It's actually anchored at your mouth position. So generally speaking, your offsets are going to be 0 unless you need to correct a little bit for your texture, if it was offset a little bit in your texture. I can also rotate the sprite if I want to. I can also alpha it out for if I want to use that. We're going to keep it at 1. Additionally, there's another feature that is enabled right now called flip head. So by default, it's enabled. If I turn it off, you'll see that as I move my face, the mouth is always facing this direction. But if I enable flip head, you can see that as I rotate my head, it actually flips to the other side. It's kind of giving you this almost like sort of quasi 3D perspective with a very simple effect, which is literally just flipping the image. And that is available on every one of the mouth, nose, left eye, right eye. All of them can enable flip with head. So that's kind of tuning the mouth. Let's go to a different type of animation for the mouth. So with this one, we're going to go to the second mouth type, which is animated texture. So here I have an animated texture loaded attached to my mouth. I'm going to increase the size a little bit. All the same sliders apply with the animated texture mouth type. So here, again, as I'm opening my mouth, it's opening and closing. Is there a limit to the amount of frames in a texture sequence? No, there's no limit. Up to a point, I mean, really the limit is how much memory and size on disk your lens can fit, which if you're building a lens, you know is 4 megabytes. And so as long as it fits within that limit, there's not really an amount that Paperhead controller enforces. So and a perfect segue into the second mouth type, which we're using now, which is animated texture. And what animated texture does is, let's say you actually already have an animation, not a sequence of images, but rather a GIF animation that you imported into your project. So here you can just import it into the resources folder as an animation, and then just bind that animation to the animated texture field for the mouth. So just for the purposes of example, I'm going to search Giphy by clicking add new, or in the resources panel, clicking the Giphy button, and let's just find a mouth. This one probably will work well, and I'm going to add it as a resource. Little fun fact, because I don't know if you everybody knows that we added this in 1.7. So when you go to Giphy in Lens Studio, we added this add. So before it was add as face sprite, add as billboard, add as world sprite. But what if you don't want to use one of those three things? Well, we added a new feature that is just add as resource, and there it's going to add it to your resources without actually adding an object in the scene. So that's a perfect example here, in that I'm using a template that already has the object in the screen, so I just want to add it as a resource. Anyways, little segue on adding resources for from Giphy. So I've just imported a Giphy resource from the add new Giphy feature, and I'm going to set the animated texture for the mouth to this new texture that I imported. So you can see now that this texture that I just imported, which is an animated texture from Giphy, is now responding to my mouth movement just like my previous animated texture. And again, this is all available for the nose. So here I have like a nose that, you know, as I move my head, it flips. Here's a really good example of giving that kind of fake 3D perspective with literally one 2D image. It sort of looks like my nose is pointing out in perspective in 3D, and all we're doing here is enabling flip on sprite with this nose sprite animation, and it's literally kind of giving this impression that it's adapting as my head turns. A really easy effect that you can add just with this checkbox. And then we'll go to the eye. The eye offers a very similar drop-down texture sequence and animated texture. Just like we had with the mouth. The mouth has another mode, which we'll get back to when we go back to mouth. but very similar. You can actually have the eye respond to your eye movement with the texture sequence or an animated texture. And then we'll go to right eye, same thing. And again, with the eyes, you can enable flip with head. Generally speaking, I don't think we enable flip with head with the eyes, because it is a little weird if the eyes are kind of flipping. The eyes feel like there's something that really do need to be grounded. So let's go back to the mouth. So we've walked through the mouth, nose, left eye, right eye. So what I'm going to do now is actually switch over to the third feature of the sliding face, of the mouth, which is the sliding mouth. So you'll see basically what the sliding mouth is made out of is two images. So the head sliding and the mouth sliding image, and then all of the same sliders that were available for the other mouth animation textures. So what I'm going to do now is import some animations that I made. Okay, actually these are not animations, they're just 2D images. And so you'll see I have some very simple images that I made. In this case, you'll see this cat. Basically what I did with this cat is this is an image I got from a stock photo library. I then cut out this cat head in a little crude way. You can see it's a little jaggy on the cutout. And then what I did is I just took the little cat's mouth and cut it out and put a little black border behind or on top of the mouth. And then you'll see I then took that mouth that I cut out and then just created that on a separate texture. Now, just one important thing for how sliding head works: these textures should be the exact same size if you don't want to have to really modify it too much in the actual template. If you make these textures the exact same size, it's just going to import pretty much automatically. You won't have to adjust it too much. So for example, this cat head and cat mouth texture, again, they're the exact same size. If I took both of these images into Photoshop and overlaid them on top of each other, you'll basically see that it would create an entire cat head. So what I'm going to do now is take the cat head and take that and set my head texture to that cat head. And then the mouth texture, do cat mouth. And so now I have the cat mouth attached to my my mouth. And then the cat head attached to my head. And so here you'll see that the mouth is sliding basically in connection with my actual mouth movement. It's a little different from the texture sequence technique, which actually it was changing images based off of my mouth movement. Here we're actually just translating the mouth up and down. And then let's make a little modification here. So I want to make this maybe cat head a little bigger. So I have a big cat head. The other thing I notice here, because those textures of the cat mouth and the cat head were the exact same size, they actually, I don't actually have to offset the mouth in any way. But let's say you brought this into Lens Studio and they weren't the same size. So that's where I would have to offset this maybe a little bit, or offset the mouth a little bit. That's another thing I might have to do. But because I actually had those textures be the exact same size when I created this texture, I don't actually have to do any offsets here. But one thing you'll see is that my cat mouth is kind of excessively opening as I open my mouth and talk. So we do have a little slider here called Slide Amount. And what we're going to want to do is kind of bring that down a little bit, probably to like, let's see, was that maybe by half? There we go. Maybe a little more, 0.3. Actually, I liked it a little smaller. So we now have a talking cat. Hello. Hi. That's the sliding mouth. Again, really great if you have two textures that you want to give this kind of almost like ventriloquist dummy look. So I'm going to finish this lens. So I actually made also a texture for the cat's eye. And so what I did here, I just took that stock photo of the cat that I got, and I cut a circle around the eye out. And what I did was I kind of fuzzied the edge around my cut in Photoshop so that I could really overlay this texture of the eye, and it didn't have to be pixel perfect for where I overlaid it. And that's what that fuzzy edge kind of helps with, is it doesn't have to be like right there because it'll kind of blend in with that fuzzy edge. And then what I did in Photoshop, I didn't actually have the same photo of the same cat actually blinking. It was really hard for me to find a photo of a cat blinking. I think because probably people looking for photos of cats don't want the cat blinking. But in this case, I wanted the cat blinking. So what I did was I just went into Photoshop and used Liquify, again, pretty crudely. But just in Photoshop, there's Effects, Liquify, and I just kind of pushed the eyebrow down and the kind of bottom of the eye up until that eye shut closed, and then I kind of just darkened out the texture for the eyeball itself to kind of give this look of an cat closing its eye. If I had a photo of the same cat actually closing the eye, I probably would have used that, but I didn't. But you'll see I think it'll actually look pretty okay. So what I'm going to do is enable the left eye, which I've already done. Because I'm not using a GIF animation or an animated sequence that I've imported, what I'm going to use is the texture sequence feature, which will allow me to select any number of textures that represent the opening of the mouth versus the opening of the eye versus the closing of the eye. So in this case, I'm going to start with the cat eye close. It always goes for the mouth, for the eye, for the left eye, the right eye. It always goes from close to open. So start with close, and then I'm going to set the second texture to cat eye open. And so now you can see that I have I'm going to take off my glasses. Now I have a eye that's responding to my left eye movement. And so obviously I have a little work to do to get this looking right. I think the first thing I need to do is offset it a little bit in the X. So I'm just gonna, if you don't know, you can use these sliders, but also if you hover over any number field in Lens Studio, we have these little handy arrows that allow you to increment and decrement based off of what the slider kind of increment amount is set to. So I can kind of use these arrows to kind of fine tune that position. So that looks about right. I might need to go down on the scale a little bit, maybe up on the X offset. And now we're going to go offset in the Y a little more down so that that eye is covering it. And you'll see that as I actually start to move it, that eye will start to blend in a little bit. And again, that's really because of that fuzziness that I gave the eye texture. Okay, so now I have my left eye covered, and the blinking looks okay. So now I'm going to enable the right eye, and we're going to do the same. So we're going to, with the right eye enabled, I'm going to switch it to the texture sequence mode, which is the same that we did for the left eye. Sorry. Yeah, we have only a winking cat now. So we want to make more than a winking cat. So we will, with the left eye, right eye selected, so currently I have a sequence of 5, so I'm going to delete a couple of these so that we only have 2 textures here. And And then I'm going to, also a little fun thing if you didn't know it, you can always, in a field that's selectable, click the field and get the resource kind of selector interface. But you can also always just drag and drop into those fields as well, which is pretty helpful. So there, I just dragged and dropped those cat eye closed and open textures. What we'll do is we'll probably copy the same scale because we know those eye textures. In this case, I'm using the same texture for the left eye as I'm doing the right eye, and those textures should probably be the same scale. So I'm copying the scale. And so you'll notice a problem here in that my eye is leaning pretty nice on my left eye, but it's leaning kind of weirdly offset, weirdly kind of to the right on my right eye. So we do have a checkbox for all of them, which is flip sprite, which will just easily flip the texture to be facing the other way. And then I probably just need to, I think my Y is probably going to be the exact same here, pretty much. And then I'm just going to offset the X a little bit. There we go, about there. I'm going to go a little bit bigger on these eyes, actually. Maybe 3.5. Oh, that's too big. 3.2, maybe. We'll go even 3. That's probably good. Offset a little bit more on the right eye, I think. And I think because this texture, that cat was tilted a little down to the right, I need to offset the Y on the right eye a little up more. So now, yeah, I have a cat lens that has a sliding mouth and with eyes that open and close. So there's my big head cat lens. Again, and it's pretty simple. One of the fun things about this template is actually most of the work that was done for the actual creation of this lens happened completely outside of Lens Studio and Photoshop. So this is really great for maybe graphic designers, illustrators, digital artists who might not be as savvy with 3D and scripting, but can make really amazing 2D content that can attach to the head and be very interactive, like this funny talking cat. The other thing I'll mention is you can also get some really cool looks. I'm going to disable the cat for now. We're going to save the cat because I want to make sure I have the cat for later use. I'm going to create a new project here so that I can always come back to the cat. So we're going to save that guy later. And then we'll create a new project here. And again, this is the project that I'm working with now is not currently available, but we're going to be posting on the website pretty soon. So I will open my new project, open here. So that was a copy, so we'll still have the cat. I just wanted to make sure I had this awesome cat lens so I could come back to it, maybe post it when we get done with the stream. And so I'm going to actually, what I wanted to show was the ability to kind of use the Paperhead template and not have to use every single feature of the Paperhead. So here, for example, I might just have a cool mouth texture that I made. In this case, I made this really quickly in Illustrator. I made this lips open and lips closed texture. Drive the size down a little bit here. But what's cool here is that I'm actually not using the entirety of the Paperhead texture. I'm just using the mouth functionality by disabling all of those checkboxes, but I still can get a pretty cool look. The thing here too is I also get to see more of my actual face, which is pretty nice. So I really like the idea of just kind of using pieces of the Paperhead template to create a really cool lens or add to an existing face lens experience. One thing I also wanted to show, you can always also affect Paperhead with things like stretch and liquefy. And how you do that is basically stretch. So I just added a face stretch by add new, and I searched face stretch and added it in the objects panel. And because face stretch is at the bottom, it's actually going to affect all of the things that are above it in the objects panel. So you'll see here that as I'm using face stretch and stretching the face, my mouth that I've attached with Paperhead is actually stretching as well. So you'll see that I disable it, the mouth gets smaller, and I enable it, the mouth gets bigger. Let me stretch it even more so it's more dramatic. So big mouth, disable, face stretch, smaller mouth. So what's another cool thing to think about with the Paperhead template is you don't have to use it just by itself. You can add in, face liquefy, face stretch, any of the other features that Lens Studio offers, and kind of use them together. I think I have another texture that I made. Pretty cool effect I thought was just using like one eye. So here I made this, oops, I reversed those. Close first and then open. So here I just made this this like cool sun eye that I'm gonna position on my eye. Zero this out. And then you kind of got a cool lens where you're still getting like a lot of the user's face in the picture, but then I kind of have this cool eye attachment that responds to my eye movement. And so you're not taking over the entire user's head like the cat lens that we built. You're using a piece of the Paperhead template, in this case the left eye, to get a cool effect. But you're still getting all that cool functionality that comes with the Paperhead template. Yeah, that's the Paperhead template. I'm really excited to see everything that people come up with here. It's one of these templates that in Lens Studio, there are a few like this that you can get stuff so quickly just by having 2D textures. We've had a lot of fun with this in the office, basically making just really funny heads that are attached to your face that respond to the facial movement. It's just such easy kind of workflow to get something working on your face that responds to the facial movement. Again, all with just using 2D textures, 2D animations, not needing any 3D modeling or 3D animation. With the Paperhead template, again, we're kind of working on just kind of finessing it a little bit. Electrical synapse, no coding required. So in this case, we do all the coding for you. One thing I will mention, if this wasn't obvious, no coding required, but all of our templates are basically everything is in there. You have so many functionalities that are built into it, and you have all the source code for it. So if you ever wanted to create a version of the Paperhead template, you totally could. It's really if you're looking to create more complex scripting experiences, you can basically open up the templates and kind of look at how they're built as a really kind of strong example for how more complex scripting works. So I'll say it's the template's no scripting required, but the script tag that actually drives this template is pretty complex. Feel free to kind of dive into not just the Paperhead template, but any template and look at how it's built. Another really awesome kind of thing I would love to see in the forums, especially with the new Lens Studio forum, is for you all to be posting maybe templates for other creators to use. That would be like something that would be really fun to see. I've already seen it happening. I know there's like a GitHub for various like Lens Studio projects and helper scripts. That kind of stuff is amazing to see. Just that, everybody's helping each other out. It's so cool. We'll keep making templates, of course, but would love to see any community created ones.